It is a Tuesday morning in Halifax. The fog is rolling off the harbor, the kettle is just starting to whistle, and you are still half asleep. But here is the strange part. While you were dreaming, you already got paid. Somewhere out west in Victoria, someone else just woke up to the very same quiet miracle. They did not set an alarm. They did not drive to a job. They did not answer a single email. Yet overnight, their shares in Canadian banks, pipelines, and telecoms quietly deposited money straight into their account. That is the dream of living off dividends. And here in Canada, it is not a fantasy. It might honestly be one of the most achievable versions of financial freedom on the entire planet. The only real question is this: how much do you actually need to make those Tuesday mornings yours? Let us walk through the real numbers for 2026. First, you need to understand why Canada is secretly one of the best countries on earth to be a dividend investor. It comes down to three words: the dividend tax credit. Here is the problem it solves. When a Canadian company earns a profit, it already pays corporate tax on that money before you ever see a cent. Then, when it hands you your slice as a dividend, the government could turn around and tax you all over again on those very same dollars. That is called double taxation, and it is deeply unfair. So Canada built a clever fix. Eligible dividends, the kind paid out by big public companies like the banks, come with a special credit attached. The Canada Revenue Agency, the CRA, essentially gives you credit for the tax the company already paid on your behalf. And the result almost sounds illegal. If dividends are your main source of income, you can earn around $50,000 a year in eligible dividends and pay almost nothing in federal tax. Read that one more time. $50,000, taxed at close to zero. Now try doing that with an ordinary paycheck. You simply cannot. This is the hidden advantage almost nobody talks about. So what does enough actually look like? Let us define three very different lifestyles using real Canadian costs. The first is the lean life. This is a simple, paid-off, no-frills existence. Think roughly $35,000 a year. Modest, yes, but completely free. The second is the comfortable life. This is the sweet spot that most Canadians quietly dream about. Dinners out when you feel like it, a trip somewhere warm once a year, and zero panic when the furnace finally dies in February. That lifestyle runs around $60,000 a year. And the third is the luxurious life. Real travel, generosity with the people you love, maybe even a second property by the water. That is $100,000 a year or more. Hold those three numbers in your head: 35,000, 60,000, 100,000. Now let us do the fun part and reverse engineer the exact wealth hiding behind each one. This is where it gets beautifully, almost shockingly simple. A sensible, diversified Canadian portfolio built from the big five banks, a couple of steady pipelines, and a telecom or two currently throws off a yield of around 4 to 5%. Let us use 5%, because that is realistic in today's market, not some fairy tale. So here is the entire freedom formula. To live the comfortable life on $60,000 a year at a 5% yield, you need a portfolio of $1,200,000. That is it. That is the magic number. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, $1,200,000? That is enormous. And you are right. It is a serious sum. But here's the mental shift that changes everything. You are not trying to save up that giant pile of cash and then live off it. You are trying to build a machine that pays you $60,000 a year, every single year, forever, without you ever having to touch the machine itself. You spend the eggs. You never sell the goose. But where you hold that machine matters just as much as what you put inside it. In Canada, you essentially have three rooms to keep your investments in, and using them in the right order is everything. The first room is the TFSA, the tax-free savings account. This one is the holy grail. Every dollar of dividends earned inside a TFSA is completely, permanently tax-free. No CRA, no forms, nothing to report. As of 2026, if you have been eligible since the very beginning, you have around $109,000 of room waiting to be filled. The second room is the RRSP. This one is tax-deferred. You get a lovely tax break on the way in, your money grows completely untouched for decades, but the CRA is patiently waiting for you at the exit. Every dollar you withdraw in retirement gets taxed as regular income, and the third room is the non-registered account. This is where that dividend tax credit we just talked about truly comes alive, letting you pull tens of thousands of dollars in eligible dividends at a stunningly low tax rate. The smartest Canadians do not pick just one, they fill all three rooms in the right sequence. Now, every great freedom story needs a villain, and this one is completely silent. It is inflation. Right now in Canada, prices are creeping upward at near 3% a year. That is the silent thief. It quietly shrinks the real value of every single dollar that just sits still, doing nothing. This is exactly why hiding your money in a basic savings account is really just a slow leak in the boat. But here is the hero of our story. The very best Canadian dividend payers do not simply pay you and stop, they raise your pay. The banks and the big utilities have a long, proud habit of increasing their dividends year after year after year, with growth projected to average around 5% for 2026. So while inflation is chipping away at 3%, your income is climbing at 5%. You are not merely keeping pace with the silent thief, you are leaving it behind. And this, right here, is where the real magic quietly begins. It is called a DRIP, a dividend reinvestment plan. Instead of spending those dividends the moment they arrive, you flip a single switch and tell them to automatically buy more shares for you. Those brand new shares then start paying their own dividends, which go on to buy even more shares, which pay even more. It is a snowball. In the early years, honestly, it feels painfully slow, almost like nothing is happening at all. This is the stage where most people quit. But if you can simply hold on for 15 to 20 years, that tiny, unremarkable snowball grows into a self-sustaining forest. A small, boring portfolio quietly compounds itself into a money-making machine that eventually pays for your entire life. The hardest part is not the strategy. The hardest part is just being patient enough to let the forest grow. But before you run off, chasing the biggest payouts you can possibly find, just one serious warning. Beginners spot a stock advertising a 12% yield and instantly think they have discovered a brilliant shortcut. Usually, what they have actually found is a trap. A yield that high is very often a ticking time bomb. It is not high because the company is feeling generous. It is high because the stock price has already collapsed, and the entire market is screaming that the dividend is about to be slashed or cut completely. Chasing yield is exactly how people manage to lose both their income and their savings at the very same time. In this game, slow and boring is precisely what wins. A safe 4 to 5% that quietly grows every year will always beat a dangerous 12% that vanishes overnight. So let us come back to that quiet Tuesday morning in Halifax. Here is the real lesson buried in all of this. It is the lesson of the gap. There is a gap between the person who trades away every single hour of their one life for a paycheck and the person who owns the assets that pay them while they sleep. Wealth in this country was never really about the number printed on your T4 slip. It is about ownership. It is about slowly, patiently buying up the small pieces of Canada that pay you simply to exist. You do not need to be lucky. You do not need to be some kind of genius. You need a plan, a little patience, and the quiet decision to actually start. Your $1,200,000 machine will not get built in a day, but it does get built, one share at a time. So the only question left is this: when do you want your Tuesday mornings to start paying you? If you learned something, make sure to like this video and hit subscribe. See you in the next one.